Good morning, gang. Welcome again to another edition of Real Talk with Charl and Charlene. We got an amazing guest for you today. We have amazing guests all the time, but you know that's my moniker. I got to tell you, but we really have an amazing lady on the show today. She's close to me across the bread, so I'm loving that hometown feel that we're gonna have today. But she's gonna come to us, and we're gonna be talking about this excellence in administration today. We're gonna be is their next level and the next level that she went to. So we're inviting her to the stage. Let me kick it off by inviting my lovely co-host first up to the scene. See how she doing on this lovely Thursday morning. What's up, Charlene? What's up?
Hello, I am super exhausted. uh, Other than that, I wouldn't have a hat on. I would look, a little more different. But
yeah.
I'm like, done is better than perfect at this point. I'm here.
Right. We're here. We know it's Thursday. We kicked off. We hope you guys had a fun time on Tuesday. We kicked off the Q&A session. Don't worry, we got guests coming in that spot. That was our first Tuesday show, but we got more Tuesday and Thursdays Real Talk. And we got a lady on today that's just like I've had a zone with her. You know I do zones with people. You know that's how I connect. That's how I get the closeness. You know what I mean? So we've had a long talk, and she is amazing. It's a lot of things, her journey, what she's on, what she's doing now, how she's uplifting the admins and this great organization that she's using to empower the administrative support. Because we can't do nothing without that admin. I'm gonna tell you right now, whether they virtual, whether they in the office, whether they doing the do, whether you got a business or you don't, or you trying to kickstart, you need the admin to in your business. So we also, every show we want you to tell us where you're tuning in from. Give us your questions. We'll definitely try to pull them up. And we also want to know some topics or some things you guys want us to cover. Because we continually doing this show for you. But without any further delay, I'm going to bring the all-star to the stage today, Miss Tomasa Aponte. I'm working on my Spanish, y'all.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today, dude?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Yeah. So, give us a little bit about you before we get on this journey and just talk about some of the things that you got going on. Give us a little bit about you and this admin journey that you've been on.
Sure. I've been an administrative professional for 15 years now. Come September, it'll be 15 years, and it's in the same place, right? I started out, I'm an executive assistant for the city of Philadelphia, the Commerce Department, but I'm in Philadelphia International Airport. And I started there at the Design and Construction Department there. And I was there for about 10 years, and I was assistant to different managers there, and I learned a lot. It was a lot of front-facing. I dealt with a lot of the contractors and everything that was going on in the airfield. About 10 years in, I met the director of aviation, which was the person over my department at the time. And about a few months after meeting him, he asked if I'd like to be his executive assistant, and I jumped at the opportunity. I loved where I came from, but it was something new. And so I went over to the executive suite, and I've been there about 5 years now, almost 5 years come September. And I've just like in the design and construction department, I gained so much experience. And I had the opportunity to be executive assistant to a lot of the chiefs and the deputies there. So I started there as the executive assistant to the deputy of aviation. And then I became the executive assistant to the COO. Then I became the executive assistant to the chief of staff and the CEO. And then I was executive assistant to the deputy of administration. So different roles, everyone's different, but I gained a lot of knowledge. And so that's what I've been doing for the past 15 years.
Yeah, that's it. Charlene, what you got? What you got for?
I'm loving that because I know corporate, small business, solopreneur, without an administrative assistant, our lives would be a hot mess, 100%. So for you, when you started to really get into it and really find your passion for it, how did you start to see your impact on everyone who you touched, whoever you worked with? How did you start to see that you really had an impact on them?
When I first started, it was the first time that I'd done any kind of I was a travel agent before that for a really small company. So it was sort of an administrative work, but I wasn't touching like as many people, right? So when I got into this field, it was something different for me. I'm not a shy person, but sometimes you run into situations where you've never been in, right? And people are not always nice. And so what I started to realize was if I always showed up and I was my authentic self, that always got me the best results. So if we had other admins come in from other departments, if I had any resources that I can help them with, I would. I was always nice, I would hope, to the people that I was in contact with, right? So what I started to realize was people were super friendly. Even I would hear them screaming in the meetings and like angry in the meetings. I'd be like, whoa, and they'd come out of those meetings and make an effort to stop at my desk.
Nice.
And just say, hey, how are you? How you doing? I'm like, that's the same guy that was like screaming in the meeting, right? Or they'd be like, hey, do you want anything? And of course, as a city employee, you can't take anything from people. But they'd always offer, you need some coffee? You want some donuts? And that just goes to show, I think, that if you are your authentic self and you show up every day, people notice. And so that's when I kind of started noticing, like, okay, me as an admin, even as a clerk one, which is that entry clerk position, I matter and I can make a difference.
And I'm glad you said that because you're so front facing, you're meeting clients, partners, you're pretty much touching a lot of spaces within a company, within an organization that most other employees won't. And depending on what level of an administrative assistant you are, you can be the right hand of the owner, and you could be the person who's really only greeting the partners and the customers. So you have to make them feel positive. If they're in a bad mood, you have to make sure that they can probably leave their drama at the door so they don't lose this partnership or this deal.
Absolutely.
So as that's going on, how do you step away from what may be going on as a negative and really bring in that positive energy to your day and to the business, so you can, infuse another burst of something different, so people can kind of shift a little bit?
Yeah, I would say this. Carl mentioned in the beginning, right? Without admins, it's hard because admins really are the building blocks of an organization, right? But we have lives too. So sometimes we're not in a good mood either, or we're having things going on at home, right? But because we are that right hand, or because we're the first person you see when you walk into the office, we can't bring that baggage with us, right? Because we're now the face of whoever you're going to see, or we're the face of an organization. And so the way that I would, sometimes, I'll be honest with you, there were times where I'd have to close my door and cry. Because life is life, right? Or you have to walk away to the bathroom and take a minute. Or sometimes you get so upset because not everyone is respectful, and you have to walk away and breathe and remember, like, I cannot allow someone else to disturb my peace, right? And someone destroy a position or a reputation that I've built in a matter of moments because they're not in a good mood.
Right.
So, and I tell admins all the time, it's not an easy job. I tell people all the time, it's not easy being an admin. No matter if you're in the very entry clerk position or a chief of staff, it isn't easy. It isn't easy because you're assisting all different kind of personalities. And like I said, we have lives, but you have to take a moment, breathe, and remember who you are. And that you've set a standard, right? And that there's people who are looking at you and you don't even know they're looking at you. And you're setting examples for people and you don't even know that. And if you snap over nothing or you're not professional, that's what they'll remember.
Man, you hit a lot on the head right there. I'm just dissecting that, and it's so amazing that you had that attitude, because oftentimes your attitude and how you're talking about it And I'm just saying from working at a lot of companies and running into a lot of reception, I have not got that from everybody. Like some of them, I have gotten the McDonald's attitude, like
Right.
why you come in here for
Most
real.
of them
Why
are
you
down.
coming for the McDonald's? Why you coming
No,
for the McDonald's?
like because like I
Most of them
mean
are like that.
like no, look, McDonald's is what they are. They
Right.
do their top of the line marketing. They get you out there. They get that. But I'm gonna tell you, in the food thing, is service wise, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot to be desired. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they, a lot of it has to do with the turnover, the young people they hire, the
Right.
mannerisms of which they let things go on.
Lack of training.
It's yeah, lack of training, those kind of things. So it's a combined combination of things. So I often use them. I'm not necessarily a scapegoat, but I use them as something, a reference where everybody pretty know. Because you done went into a McDonald's and you done got somebody smacking their breath, and
Of
it's just
course.
like, and on the phone when you come in, like it didn't happen to everybody. But when you think about that, I often think about the admin being the gatekeeper, and I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
really like what you're saying as far as the importance on them. I kind of put them like the usher at the church. Like if I'm coming into the church for the first time, and you got a nice usher that gonna greet me, give me a fan, all of the niceties and things, I might make a trip back to that church.
Right.
I might, even if I don't have one, I might even join that church because of the love I felt from there. I look at the admins in the same way when I'm coming in, especially in the law where I work. They're the ones that's going to be hiring potential, looking at or giving us potential clients, potential
Right.
ones that they're going to hire the firm, potential ones that have cases, and they may be in like millions. Like you never know who's coming through the door. And with
Exactly.
you said something so key, being you and learning how to take a breath. I don't think that we really get that point of it from just job perspective. Period. I think we let a lot of it, the pressures of it. We don't step back,
Mm-hmm.
take a deep breath and breathe it in. But yeah, you unleashed a lot on that one right there.
Yeah. So what would be I want to say I feel like there's a responsibility difference, and it can be huge, or the expectation can be huge between the administrator that's starting out and is purely dealing with clients, the customers, the partners that come in, the meet and greet type situations. And then you have the administrative assistants who are the right hand of the community. So if something goes wrong, we all losing our jobs today.
Right.
So how is that, what's those expectations like, especially as we are in our own businesses trying to get to that next level? So we want to know, how do we look for someone who can really support what we need at any given stage in our business?
Right.
So how would we really try to either look for someone who can handle whatever position we're looking for, and then what do we look for in that person?
That's a good question. A lot of times you'll see companies that say they're looking for someone, and there's this set specific thing they want, right?
Right.
They want someone who knows Microsoft or Google, and that's great. It's good to know what you want as a company. It's good to know what you want as an organization. But you shouldn't box people in either, right? So when you're looking for someone, you should be looking for someone not so much not so much their experiences or their knowledge. Yes, that's important, obviously. But people can learn. If you give them the right training, they'll learn it. That's not the problem. The issue is the culture in organizations. The issue is how you're treating your people, right? People are stagnant, or they don't learn because they're not given the opportunity to. So when you're looking for people to be that face for your company, absolutely, they should have the basic knowledge. But to say, oh, you don't know how to do Excel, nope, you can't do it. You can't be my person. That's not true. They absolutely can be your person. Are they authentic? Do they speak from the heart? Do they agree with your mission of your company? Is that someone that you can be proud of and say, yeah, that person is the front face? Are they great at Excel? No, but they're great with people, right? They're quick learners, and that's what you should be looking for. Someone that you can invest into, because you invest into your person, and they will be loyal to you.
I'm loving that you brought up a couple of things. The teaching someone how to
Yes.
really work with you,
Mhm.
the investment in the person, because when we are looking to build businesses, build connections, we're investing time into those connections. And when we're building our communities, we're investing time. And also, you brought up having someone who is really understanding the mission and the culture of the business. And all too often, we're creating businesses or we're calling ourselves business owners, but we don't sit down and say, "This is our mission."
Right.
This is like, remember, like I remember starting out. That was where like the prime things. They told you didn't have a business until you wrote
That's
down what
right.
your mission
You wrote
was,
your
what
mission.
your value was. Nowadays, everybody just jumped online and like,
Mhm.
I'm here.
I'm a business owner.
I'm a business owner,
Right.
but then they start bringing people into chaos, and then they're expecting other people to clean up the chaos.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that you pointed that out, that you have to at least have a purpose, have a vision, allow that mission to be there, so people that you're bringing in are matching what that is for your company.
Mhm.
And you mentioned what I really focus on, and which is my heavy pet peeve: the culture of corporations.
Yeah.
Like that is like dire. I was telling a person I had on my show this week, and they were talking about the culture is killing, and
Mhm.
I said you're absolutely right,
Yeah.
because you picked up and you said some things that was very very astute. When you think about who you're going to get, you want someone to go with that mission statement. A lot of companies and corporations, I know for a fact, and I'm sure you do as well, working at the ones that you work at, they don't even revisit those mission
Right.
statements. They don't even the ones that's coming in have no idea, no
Mhm.
knowledge of what that meant to the person who started the company,
That's right.
or to the leaders that's now leading the company. They don't, it's not ingrained, it's not ingratiated. Oftentimes you have those traditions, and I don't understand how that happens, but it does. How you have that bad tradition that's going on with two or three employees that's just cancerous, and no one
Yeah.
seems to be able to take that out. And you have
Mhm.
new people coming in who's getting mixed into that, and that stagnation, it goes on a lot. That's why you have such high turnover rate. And it's not so
Absolutely.
much as in restaurants now. People are not staying at companies now when they're not learning.
That's
How
right.
does that? How important is that with the admin and understanding that and being able to communicate those kind of issues? Maybe not, maybe in the senior level issues,
Mhm.
the senior level, but how important is that for you to be an eye to your boss, to your
Mhm.
CEO, to your executive, and let them know, yo, this little cancerous. Maybe we need to do that, or are you that eye?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's super important. And I will agree with you. A lot of people, a lot of companies start a mission and then they don't ever revisit it. And the truth of the matter is that sometimes your mission changes. As your company evolves, your mission changes. And it's okay to look at that vision or that mission and revamp it to fit how your company has evolved, right? And in order to do that, you also are going to then look for people who can be that front face for that mission. When it comes to like teaching people, Carl, and giving them that opportunity to learn, it's important. It's important to do that because you want your person to be the most efficient. It does not matter if that person is C-level or not. That's not the point. The point of having a person, right? Because I was 10 years in a different department that was completely separate from C-suite. We're not. It's not even in the same building.
Hmm.
And I'll be very honest with you. Sometimes it felt kind of like we were the stepchildren, right? We weren't as
Mhm.
involved. But that doesn't mean that the manager from that department then shouldn't invest in their person, or that admin can't go to the trainings that they're having over at the main area. Of course they can. They can, and those managers should encourage that they do. Because the point of being like a leader, right? A leader, a mentor, you may have a great person, but you don't want them at your hip for
Mm-hmm.
25, 30 years. You want them to grow. You want them to learn. You want them to gain knowledge and then let them go and let them be great and do different things and go to different parts of the department, get promotions, because at the end of the day, that looks good on you.
Yeah.
You were a great leader. You encouraged them, you invested in them. And because of that, they'll be so much more grateful for it. And when they go to the different department, they're like raising the praises about you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that person's a great leader. That person's a great manager. They invested in me. I learned so much under them. And in some companies, I understand that they don't give trainings, right? Or maybe they may not have the money for it. That doesn't mean that the person can't learn. And it definitely doesn't mean that the person, the president, the CEO, the owner of a small business, it doesn't mean that you can't teach. You absolutely can teach. You can bring that person into your office 15, 20 minutes a day, teach them something new, mentor them. Take them, if it's a field job, take them out on the field. Maybe it's not their job spec, but why does that matter? It's something that they're learning, and maybe you can awaken, a gift inside of them, or a different field for them. But the point is to live our lives as leaders, as good ones, not just, I'm an owner of a business, so I'm a CEO of a company. Yeah, but if you're not doing anything with that, if your person isn't learning, I mean, what good is it, right? Money in your pocket, great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
Sheila.
remember we would be taught, or it would be kind of expected that you're not always going to be in that position. So you should be looking for
Right.
someone to train behind, to
Absolutely.
come behind you. But then somewhere along the line, we kind of lost that, where you have people holding on to the position. They
Oh my
rather
God.
die there before they give it
Oh
to
my
someone
God.
else. They're not trying to be replaced.
Mhm.
That's
Like,
the
your
cancerous
purpose is,
traditions.
yeah, the purpose is for you to make space for up and coming fresh people, fresh blood to come into the organization and the business. So with you saying that is so true. It kind of leads to what's really going on between corporate and businesses that we are owning. Are we really creating these businesses for someone else to take over for us? And not look at that as we're being replaced, but rather that we're leaving a legacy for someone else to carry on? Or are we just being selfish? Or are we in a selfish space right now where everything ought to be about us? We own everything, meaning we're not letting anybody else come in here.
Mhm.
But then that's where the stagnation is coming in. That's where
Absolutely.
we're losing touch with the organization as a whole. So I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, because you highlighted that, and I was saying what Sheila had said. She had posted something very good. I don't think they get it. And when I say that, I just look at corporations in general, and I don't know if that's just a bias thing. Because I once worked at a corporation, I definitely won't name them, but I worked for a corporation, and the person that trained me, there's a few things that they didn't show me. So when I
Mhm.
went to the next level and worked with the individual whom was waiting for me to be trained, they popped up something. I was like, she didn't show me that.
Mhm.
So he went back to her, and we all went back to the thing. He's like, "Well, why didn't you show Carl so he can do this quicker and he can get more
Mhm.
out?" She actually told, now this he was the executive, and it was me and me in leadership, and he was in her position. She actually told him, "I'm not going to tell or train everybody on everything I know."
Mhm.
She's like,
Mm.
"Then I won't have a job."
Right.
Wow.
Right then,
I've heard that too.
yeah, and that just right
Mhm.
then, like that is a continued perpetrated culture because
Right.
him hearing that, and she stayed there. I left. She stayed there. I stayed there about a year and a half. I'm toxic. I'm not gonna stay there. She's still there. Like been there like 30 years before I got there.
Wow.
So that's another thing I'm saying with corporations continually babysitting these cultures that are being divisive. They're not growing and they're not innovating. Then they want to know when things happen, when calamities happen, such as this pandemic. Now everybody's trying to bootstrap to get. Maybe I can get online. Maybe I can hire somebody for $17 an hour when I was on kicking them down for $12 an hour. This is
Yeah.
where this mentality come from, and people
Yeah.
are not understanding. And I was talking to another person. He was talking about the people and the money that they're getting now. People don't want to go to work. I beg to differ. People don't want to go to that
Man,
same work. They
there
don't
Right.
want to
you
go to those
go.
same
Right.
companies.
There you
They don't
go.
want to fool with them same idiots who they've been fooling with for all the years before the pandemic. So it don't have
Yeah.
nothing to do with what my son called him Bishop Joe Biden, with him giving them stimulus. It's people that they won't change. How do we bring about those change, even at the admin level or even in level period? Because
Mhm.
I know we're talking about admin, but I just want that everyday Joe Schmo that's going to work, that's feeling stuck.
Mhm.
How does, beside him being the authentic self, how are there ways that you've seen that you were able to kind of like change culture within the culture you were in?
I think it's important to remember that again, and I agree with you, right? Sometimes they hoard what they know, they hoard their knowledge, and I've run into it. I remember when I first started with the city, I was like, just teach me something, because the person was hoarding onto all their knowledge, right? And because I stayed, they left.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, things happen for a reason, right? But here's the thing. It's important to remember, one, that we're human. So that feeling of like hoarding, I don't know that it's necessarily being selfish. I think it's being afraid of letting go what we know, afraid of somebody else taking our job, right? Somebody else doing it better than us. But teaching someone something and then they go and do that, that's a compliment.
Yeah.
So when we see people who are kind of like down, or they're spazzing out at work, or yeah, we can ignore them. We can be like that person and just not work with them, right? I don't want to work with that person because he's always nasty when he's on projects. But maybe he's that way for a reason. Take the time to talk to people. Communication is so key. It's key when you're supporting someone. It's key when you're in a team. Communication is key. Are you going to like everyone? No. You don't have to. But you definitely have to work together. So go to that person. I would say if you see someone who's like that, who's just like they come to work for the paycheck and you know that they're miserable, take 5 minutes out of your time. Stop by their office, stop by their cubicle. Hey, how you doing today? That can go a long way. You don't know what's going on. It can have absolutely nothing to do with work, right? Or it can be that they feel like they're not appreciated. They're not learning anything. So teach them, or say, hey, I saw this training that the office is giving, and I think you'd be great at that. Lift people up, because sometimes we have to take our hand out and lift people out of those feelings because they feel whatever they feel about themselves. But it doesn't mean that we have to ignore them and say, oh, that person's just hard to work with. Yeah, they probably are hard to work with. I agree. But it doesn't mean that you can't be positive in their lives, that you can't find some way to uplift them. Or if you notice that person's really good at meeting minutes, I don't know, anything, say to them, hey, you're great at meeting minutes. I just wanted to say that your meeting minutes were awesome. Like, can you teach me how to do those meeting minutes? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because investing in people, even emotionally, matters. Because you walk out the door thinking, oh, wow, but to you, it's just meeting minutes. Who cares? But I care, because now I can go over the meeting minutes and there's no question. There's no like, what did that person say? Oh, I don't remember that. Because you take those meeting minutes so well. And we have someone like that in our organization. And I've always thought that I take good meeting minutes. But when this man came into the organization, I was like, he put my meeting minutes to shame. To shame. And I have no problem telling him, hey, tell me, can I use your format? And I started using his format. Why? Because it makes more sense. It's more, and I'm sure that to him, he's like, they're just meeting minutes. It's the way I do them. Yeah, but you do them great. And it's a simple compliment can go a long way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't. I'm sorry, Charlene. I was thinking. I think a lot of people don't really understand that. You hit on that quickly, and I was just gonna share this what Shakita said, and this is. I don't think a lot of time it's from a bad place. You've mentioned some places where people hoard that experience and knowledge simply for the fact of I'll say majority of it's fear.
Yeah.
That they don't want to be replaced, and I think that's where it goes to leadership to ingratiate those ones. Because I always had a plan, and this is what I share with clients who I'm talking to, corporations. We have the older employees that have been there the longer, they're your ambassadors. So if you treat them ambassadors and give them the opportunity to ingratiate the newcomers, then you will build that divide. Because I'm not saying this new person is here to take your job. What I'm saying is I want you to express what we do here as a company and our mission to the new person. And I think that comes with that. Shakita makes a good point. So 2 years ago, she realized that she was hoarding her knowledge and experiences, but she had to allow people access to her. And I think that's exactly what it is, what you were saying. I think a lot of times people instinctively, territorially do that because this is my thing, this is my
Mhm.
job. I've been doing it. You can't do it. And I don't think it really comes from a place of a bad place or a place of malice. I'm sorry,
Sometimes it
Charlene, go
does,
ahead.
but
Because I was saying that a lot of what you say it goes back to the culture
Mhm.
and it
Yes.
goes back to investing in the people. So if you have someone who's been there for a long time, 30, 40 plus
Mhm.
years, and you're not giving them opportunities to go somewhere else or
Right.
create a space where
Grow.
they can elevate,
Mhm.
they kind of tend to feel like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. I got to make the best of it. Or you might have the person, you've done it all, you've given them opportunities, you say, hey, I would love to see you grow, I think you're doing amazing, but they don't want to switch up, they don't want to share their information so you can move them to someplace else, because if you move them then you have a gap in that
Right.
area. So what's a great way or trick or tip you can give to allow people to build into their culture a strategy to allow people to be comfortable and understand like sharing your knowledge is key, but we also have a space for you, so we need to like keep the flow moving in a sense. We don't want it we If you want to move around, we want to allow that, but we need to build something in place, like best practices to allow that movement to happen.
Mhm.
What would you say would be something that you've seen in place and you can see can work for a large amount of people? Maybe not everybody, but a large
Mhm.
amount.
I think the first thing is for an organization, big or small, to really take note of your culture. What is your culture really? That's important to look at and really dissect. Because saying I have a great culture, but not listening to your employees about it, well, then you don't have a great culture, right? You think you do, but you don't. So first, take real look at what your culture looks like, and then come up with a plan. How do we change that? How do we change the culture? What do we need to do? Listen to your employees.
Mm,
If you're a big organization, have town halls. Listen to what they're saying. What is it that would make them feel appreciated? If everybody wants more money in their paycheck, I mean, yeah, that'd be great. But other than that, what can we do? Right? And a lot of times you'll hear things like, we just want to be invested in. We want access to trainings. We want to be told thank you.
mm,
Simple things, right?
right.
So obviously, training takes money because you need to get someone, they need to do the training. And I understand it's not always in the budget. But some organizations have big New Year's Eve parties. Don't have one this year.
Mm,
Invest that money into your people. And I think that the way to do that is to give access to your people. Create trainings, even if they're small ones, soft skill trainings, right? Because it's not always about your hard skills, about Excel and Word, and yeah, that's great. But people need soft skills too. You need to learn how to work with that difficult employee. How do
yeah.
you do that? Right? When you're having a really bad day, how do you take a step back? Because some people may not know how to do that,
Mhm.
especially at work. So I think in order to make people feel comfortable enough to know I can give up some of my knowledge or I can share it is by investing in them and making them believe, because you're consistent in
Mhm.
your mission, your culture is consistent. You're showing up as leadership and saying we care about you. You're not just a number. We care about you as a person. And in order to do that, you have to do these things. You have to create trainings if you don't have them, or listen to what kind of trainings your people want. Walk around your office. Say, hey, how you doing? Talk to people. Be personable, because if people feel appreciated, and I don't know the statistic number, but I've read so many times when people feel appreciated in a company, they stay. They bring people on because they feel appreciated. And that's the way to do it. That's the way to make me feel comfortable enough to say, oh yeah, I can share my knowledge with so and so because I know that I've worked hard and it's appreciated, and I can now move on to something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Because we are missing that when we have a culture where, you know, it's only working for some, and they're just not making that adjustment to allow it to work for the majority. You're not giving people that space, so that makes a lot of sense.
And you got to do those evaluations. I know
Oh yeah.
sometimes it's hard. Sometimes you look at spots, and I've been in the hiring and firing spot as well. And some of those choices are difficult to make.
Yeah.
But you're looking at the overall picture here, and it's not just the painter, it's the portrait. So if I got a bad painter that's messing up this portrait that I got, I've got to replace that painter. And I think those are some of the hard things that I think I don't think leaders like to really deal with, or some. I won't paint that broad picture for everyone, but it's hard to deal with, especially when you've been ingratiated with this individual at your company or your corporation for so many years. You can't say a lot of things. You probably have that past. You probably have saw them. You probably have been witnesses to some things that you really shouldn't have let continue. But it becomes hard in that. Then you have to stand up and be the individual, say, well, you know, you've done well for us, and you know, you've not learning, like Charlene said about this individual, just like, you know, you gave them all what you could. You gave them passes and those kind of things. But what is that saying to the employees that's following the letter of the law, and they're following the missions that you put out there, and they're doing those kinds of things? When you have that kind of going on, how does that really play in with the role of the admin? Because the admins, they see a lot. They see a lot. I'll tell you, if you want to know anything, I done been in companies and I didn't go stand waiting for someone or waiting for an interview or waiting for a meeting, and I just struck up a conversation with the receptionist or the admin or that initial. I done found out a whole lot about that company before I even got to the person I was supposed to be talking to. How can you then? How pivotal and important is that? Like I said before, I call it the gatekeeper, but how pivotal and important is that for you to continue and be that eye keeper that you talked about?
And we are gatekeepers. That's a great way to put it. That's exactly what we are. Now that person, I hope they didn't tell you anything they shouldn't, but
they told me a lot. I didn't find out. Whether it was, I should have not. But look, I found out about the Christmas party, and I think I went. This was like June. But they told me about stuff at the Christmas party.
Having in December.
They was really chatting. I was chatting her up now. I was chatting her up. I was getting the information because I wanted to know about the company, and what better than that initial person is seeing everybody come and go, knowing everybody individual lives that go through there. They're important, and it's a place of confidence and confidence as well that people have in you to not spread that. That's really what I want to get to. How important is that? Because I think sometimes secretaries think they're just there, or admins think they're just there, like, you know, when I get mad, I'm going to pop off all the beans.
Yeah, listen, admins hear things, we see things, and depending on who you're assisting, if you're assisting anybody in the C-suite, COO, CEO, you hear things that are uncomfortable sometimes. They're uncomfortable for you. You know things before other people do. And it's so pertinent that you know how to keep that. That person, whoever you're supporting, knows that they can trust you with that. That information you're hearing is just for your ears. First of all, they can ask you to leave the room, right? They can do that, but they don't, because they trust you. And holding that trust is so important. But admins, we hear it all. We hear it all, we see it all. And if you want the gossip in the organization, it's probably the admins who know it, right? Because not only are leadership talking to us, but so are the other employees.
Yeah.
Right? They're all coming to us like, oh, and they're telling us all the information. It is not our job to then spread that information. You want to talk about it? Go home. Go home and talk to your kids about it. Talk to your husband about it, your wife, somebody that has absolutely nothing to do with the company and is not going to then repeat that information. And if it's really private information, you shouldn't be speaking to anyone about it, because exactly what you are is a gatekeeper. And that's extremely important in being an assistant, extremely important in being an admin professional, because sometimes you know somebody's going to get fired before they know.
Because I was asking that to you earlier, like what would be the differences to look for? And I think one of that would be, depending on the level that they're moving into, how vital do they see the information that they're receiving, and can they do they have discernment? Because a lot of times
Right.
people just don't have that.
Right.
Do they have discernment to understand that even if the CEO or whoever is, maybe they having a bad day or something's going on, or they themselves don't like what they're seeing. So they're because they're with their assistant so much, a lot of times they're with them more than they are with family members.
Absolutely.
So they tend to just let a lot of their ideas and comments out. So that person has to also have discernment in knowing, what do I share, when do I share it, and how do I know just to keep my mouth shut? And it may be uncomfortable, but I know that if I did the opposite of what I should be doing, things could really get worse than they need to be. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that also goes to what a lot of because we have amazing guests all the time, and Deanna Jean was one person who said, when you're doing things with an intentional purpose, and that's also looking for those administrative assistants who can really help guide the business as well, because after a while you're actually fine-tuning that person to almost run a business, and because they're seeing so much and they're starting to understand the gist of a lot of things, because some administrative assistants even get to sign paperwork on behalf of the boss. So that's very important, to find someone who has the discernment and who is an intentional person when they're doing work with you and on your behalf.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely a job, and discernment. That's the key word that I was looking for, because that's what it takes. And even though we don't look at it maybe discernment, we think about it on a spiritual level, but it's just it's just really on a level of being aware of. And I don't think they're really aware of the responsibilities that they hold, because a lot of people, I don't think, unless you've been in that role, such as yourself, and know the establishment and the criteria and what's needed from that. I think a lot of people look at the admin role just such as a janitor at a school, or they just look at it as
a secretary.
It's necessary, but you ain't really all that important. But what Charlene said is really the focal. You really want that admin person really could be able to run the business if you're not there, and that is the key that you're looking at. So when you're looking at that and you're looking to hire that should be your main focus, versus can they do Word, can they do Excel, you know what I mean? Because those are teachable, trainable things.
Absolutely, yeah.
But you can't train an idiot, because if you got an idiot at the front door, I mean, what are you going to do at that point? And then I like how you said that's really the person, and the importance of it, of that. And really, what I want to stretch is that the importance of the admin is above none, next to whoever that right hand, whoever they are, to that person that's owning, that's leading, that's the CEO, that's C-suites, and all of those things. So it's definitely important.
Yeah, and we definitely could run the business, right? One of the things that we do, especially in C-suite, we call managing up, right? You manage up. It's hard to manage anyone. If you're managing people below you, people, and you have direct reports, it's hard. But it's just as hard managing up. You have to manage your person. You have to manage where they're going, where they're not going, their calendar, who they're meeting. And so it's not easy. And we know probably just as much, especially depending on that relationship with the CEO, with the COO, with a director. If that person is really utilizing their assistant, that assistant can do what you do.
Yeah.
Right? That's your right-hand person. And they know everything that's going on. Right. So a lot of times we'll get that, oh, she's just a secretary. There's nothing wrong with being a secretary.
Nothing at all.
But I'm much more than a secretary. I'm a gatekeeper. I'm a secret keeper. I'm so many things. And we as admin professionals, and I think one of the main things that's important to remember for leadership, and I don't know if there's any leadership here on the call, but what I think it's so important that leadership remembers, your person is blocking you from so many things, and you're able to go to your meetings and have your calls and maybe have lunch go out and have lunch with a client, because that admin is making it so. Right? That admin is saying, nope, so-and-so can't see you today. And sometimes we get backlash because of it. People are angry at us. because we're being that block between the everyone else and our person. And
Yeah.
so it's super important to know we're not just secretaries. We're a lot more than that. And Charlene, you said sometimes they're with you more than they are with their families. Absolutely. And sometimes you feel like their spouse.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Sometimes your person doesn't have time to go get lunch. And if you're the kind of admin that says, well, I don't mind, and I've been that admin where I would run and get lunch. Some admins don't like to, and there's nothing wrong with that. But then there's some admins where like, I'll run and get lunch, right? You're getting lunch for that person. You're asking that person, did you eat lunch? Do you need some coffee? So we're much more than just punching in numbers in a computer.
And a lot of what you say too. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's your buddy, your cat over there. That's
back to the cat.
That's my buddy. I was wondering when he's gonna come alive.
Hold on.
Rebellious.
Rebellious. You bugging. Hold on, brother. Okay, let me get back to business. Okay. I'm hearing clinking and clanking. I'm like, oh no, we're not. So a lot of what you were saying also leads back to, and it's always going to be that fundamental, the soft skills. And I remember a woman, she's in my connections as well, Peggy Klaus, is all about fine-tuning how you're using your soft skills, learning about them, and really using them to excel and go beyond whatever level you're at any given time, because soft skills are important and they allow us to really fine-tune and shine as we are elevating throughout our lives and our careers. So I'm glad you did mention that. Now, I know we're coming up on our time, but I want you to come back. I'm saying that right now, Tomas. I want you to come back because I want us to really go into the soft skills. We tend to overlook those. Mm-hmm. And I want us to have that conversation. But also let the people know where they can find you, how they can connect with you, because you are a connection we all need. So let them know how to find and connect with you.
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. And I love to meet people from all walks of life. I love coffee. You want to talk to me about coffee? You want to talk to me about, a book? I love to read, so I'm always reading. And connect with me. If you have a question, if you need some mentoring with something, I'm always willing to do that. I'm part of a great organization, the Admin Awards, which Carl mentioned early on. And that
tell us a little bit about that too.
So the Admin Awards is an amazing program. They're the first only public program that recognizes admin professionals and the excellent things that they do and their dedication. The Admin Award was founded by Sunny Noonan, she's the daughter of an executive secretary. And her mom re-entered the workforce at 51 and became the executive assistant to a CEO there at the company. And he absolutely loved her, right? And so he did what we would hope any direct person would do. He invested in her. He was great to her. And so Sunny, the founder of the Admin Awards, was able to see that and was able to see how her mom grew in her position, how she felt appreciated. And so obviously she's the inspiration for the Admin Awards. Now the Admin Awards, we're in 9 different cities. We're in Dallas, Fort Worth, Silicon Valley, Denver, San Francisco, Houston, Chicago, Seattle, and then most recently we're in Philadelphia. So it's brand new for Philly, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. And the way that it works is you, as either an executive or a coworker, can nominate an admin professional that you think is doing an excellent job. And there's 9 different categories, and I have a little picture, maybe Carl, I can send it to you and you can share that.
Yes, I'm gonna definitely share that and repost it.
And I'll send you like the link where you can go and nominate people.
Yes.
The great part about that is nominating someone is free. It's absolutely no cost. And the reason for that is because we have amazing sponsors, Southwest Airlines and Robert Half. And Carl, you said you worked for Robert Half years ago.
Yes. I gave him about 3 years of my life. Yes.
So, and because of them, the nominations are free. And there is no cost to do that. So if you know that somebody's doing an amazing job, and listen, being an admin professional, a lot of times from entry level to chief of staff, it's a thankless job. Unfortunately, you don't get a lot of thank yous. You're doing great. But this is an opportunity to do that. It's an opportunity to say, hey, you're doing such a great job as this admin that I want to nominate you. You nominate this person, and then it goes to, and there's 9 different categories, and you can nominate them in every single category. The only restriction is that they can only win in one. They win, right? And then at the end of the nominations, they get to go to this big gala and eat food and listen to music and have great drinks, and they get to dress up beautifully. It's like a red carpet gala for admins. You know, it's the most, it's an amazing way to feel appreciated, where sometimes in a business you don't feel appreciated.
Yeah, that is definitely awesome. That's awesome. They make me want to be an admin now. I need an admin job. So I'll put me on the tuxedo and go eat
right every day.
You know what I mean?
And Carl, tell the folks where they can connect with you and the big things that I know you are doing.
We're just working on so much. We got I'm working on the podcast. We definitely finished up the website. We're doing that. We got this continuity show. We've added Tuesday and Thursday. Also have my course coming out. I'm doing the finished touches on that. September is going to be a whirlwind. I go back to school too. So it's just a lot that we're doing, but it's all doing it to better other people. I know you say, well, Carl, you benefiting because you're actually doing it. This is true. But I'm also doing it for a legacy because I want someone to come behind me to be inspired by what I'm doing. And this is really it. And I'm excited about this course on vulnerability. We're going to talk some about that the next time you're on. Tomasa. I'm working on my Spanish. I'm working on it. We're going to talk.
So I got to teach you how to say it in Spanish.
Yes. Yeah. I might get that better than trying to say it in English, right? So yeah, I'm working on this vulnerability course, doing it. And I just had a great event with Wells Fargo. I just want to send a shout out to them and the VP there in their mortgage division, Kathy. We had a wonderful time. We talked about culture and we talked about changing through vulnerability and leadership and how these leaders can be vulnerable and change the culture. That was really exciting to do. The first time that I've ever done an event like that. So I'm looking forward to doing more of that. I'm just excited about what's going on. What's going on with you, Charlene? Let us know what you're doing.
Okay, well, I relaunched my podcast today, Transform Clicks to Profit, and I will be bringing on guests. So you both know you will be on the show. And it's really about understanding how to run an organization, how to run a business where you can use social media, you can use your website as a way to really push that business forward. Because a lot of times we are on these different platforms or we're creating our own space, but we don't know how to use it. We don't know how to get people to click on a link, bring them into our world, and then do business together. We're not sure how to get from A to B. So this podcast is all about talking to people who are still struggling through it, talking people into understanding what the purpose of their businesses are, what the purpose of all these different connectors are. And also it's about watching people who have thrived in doing it and learning from them. So I want it to be a conversation like how we're doing now, very informative, but laid back, because as a web developer for over 21 years, I find like that's what's missing. The conversation and the communication is missing. So I want to make sure that we're doing that first before we jump into building anything. Make sure we're understanding what the purpose is in our business and then move forward. Because like we're saying today, Tomas, we need to understand the culture. We need to bring that mission forward and then allow everything around us to be based off of that mission and those values. So that's what I've done. I will drop the link. So you guys, I am on all things podcast at this time. It's from what is it? Apple Podcast,
Apple, Spotify, and all areas where broadcasts are
Google
done.
Podcast. Yeah. I'm all over the place.
Yes.
And I will be dropping new episodes every Tuesdays and Thursdays. So today was the kickoff, so you can go listen to the welcome right now. And I will be dropping some tidbits as well. So some quick tips I'm going to drop in between my episodes, just to give you something to feed on while you wait for the next one to come through. And of course, the podcast with Carl, we're going to transform that and put that on a different. We're going to put that into Clubhouse, and we're going to put that on the different platforms, so you can just listen to us on the go. Maybe you're not you don't catch us on the live, but you can catch us on the audio podcast. You can have that too. So we're working on that. And
we got a bunch of stuff going on. We just leveling up. I mean, we got a lot to share between Charlene and I. We got almost 50 years, if not close to 50 years of experience working either for people, leading people, you know what I'm saying, teaching people, training people. So, you know, this is in our blood. This is what someone sent you a shout out today and said you did a great job.
Yes.
You got the same last name. So
that's my mama.
Sure. Mama, you raised the good one, Mama. I'm loving it. The mama's showing up. Yeah, she said you done a great job, and you did, and we gotta have you back. Thanking everybody that came out. We appreciate you guys so much. We can't do this without you. Go and check this lady out. She has, just a lovely person. We've had the one-on-one. I mean, enjoyable. Let's talk about the coffee. When we had our Zoom, she had a little cup of coffee right there. She had a cup of coffee right there too in her mug. So she definitely is real. And we're gonna talk to her about I'll say this before we get ready to go. We're gonna talk to her fiance too. He's got some great stuff going on.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have him on, Charlene. I'm gonna get him on. We're gonna try to schedule him on as well because he's an entrepreneur, business owner, and he's doing his thing. And we want to definitely get him out there in front of the people as well, so they can see what's going on. All right, that's all I got.
Thank
Charlene,
you so much.
Thank you
so much for having me on.
Thank you. And like I said, you'll be back because we're noticing that we are about to have some repeaters that are coming.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sequels. I'm loving this.
we get part twos already.
Right?
We don't want to do no sequels so soon.
Yes.
Part two.
Well, whenever you need a third person, let me know.
Come on now.
Yo, yeah. I'm game. I'm always game for opening up.
And it could be like Kelly and Ryan live with Kelly and Ryan, where if one of us can't make it, hey,
that's
we got
right.
to come through.
You know, we got
the replacement co-host.
Yes.
Look, she over here throwing them ideas out left and right already, right?
I'm telling you. But thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Keita Jackson, she's also going to be on the show soon.
Thanks, Keita,
Ricky, John.
You.
I mean, you guys have come through.
Desiree.
Yes, you guys have been coming
so proud of you, Mama.
My daughter.
That's your daughter.
Aww.
Yes.
My family, like woohoo!
I'm telling you,
that's the family that screams really loud when somebody goes across the stage. That's my family.
And so because family is showing y'all how to come out, show support, and really connect, make sure that you guys are liking this on the live. Make sure that you guys are sharing this.
Check the replay.
Hit that replay. Make sure that you are putting out the word that the community here is not only building, but we are allowing others to shine, because that's what it's really about. Being on LinkedIn is not just about collecting digits like you on a date. You are collecting. That's right. You're collecting connections so you can build together. That's the whole purpose of building a community, building a network. So we're all about that. If you're about that, hit us up. If you're interested in the show, we're going to drop that link also in the chat so you guys can connect and apply. Because yes, we're saying apply to be on the show.
Yeah. So we can't do it no other way. You got to apply.
Yes, we can make sure that we not only have your information, but we can also spotlight you, because we try to promote as much as possible. So the best way to do that is to allow you to send us your images. We are not stripping from your Facebook. I'm not doing that.
The link's in there. I dropped the links for you. The application is in there. You know,
and just make sure that we are building together, and we're building strong communities, not just random people coming together. We're building intentional communities. So come back next week, Tuesday. We have some amazing things going on. And like I said, if you want to build with us, connect with us. We are on LinkedIn, all three of us. We're in the chat. So hit on our faces, send us those connection requests, and we are ready to do that connection. Don't connect with us just to pitch to us. We're not about that life either. So let's build together, and we will see you all next week, Tuesday.
We got discernment, so we know before you hit the connect. We
right. Okay.
All right, love you guys. I appreciate everybody that's coming out again. We thank you, Tomasa. Please come back to us again. We're gonna get you on
Absolutely.
for part 2, and we're gonna get that co-host application out to you as well.
Listen,
So,
send it out.
we enjoy having you. We enjoy having you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot, everybody. We appreciate you guys for coming by. And until the next time, guys, y'all hang in there. It's Real Talk with Carl and Charlene. See ya.
Bye.